what reasons can we have for them to come to that firm belief?
We can go into a whole bunch of things. Maybe
Action Man Suckle. He's an Action Man cameraman.
Support the Bentley fan family.
Go on.
Let's deal with the idea that they tried to create a political movement. Because, and what I would invite you to do is, if I take seriously every one of your suggestions, I want you to take seriously my suggestion in return. Okay, so let's deal with the fact they were trying to create a political movement.
They might have been, I'm not saying they were.
Bro, stop equivocating.
Okay.
We're just dealing with the theory.
I'll be very specific then to make this easy. I believe certain people like Saul, becoming Paul, was creating a political movement which was different from the Jesus movement which was led by James.
Right, so that's your position.
One of them.
What did James believe about Jesus?
James believed that Jesus, from what I recall, he believed Jesus was, what's the word I'm looking for? Messiah.
Do you believe that James believed that Christ had risen from the dead?
I don't know, that's what I've been told, from what I've read.
So if James believed that Christ had risen from the dead, right? Okay, we'll come back to Paul. We'll deal with Paul separately. But let's just deal with James's belief that Christ had risen from the dead. Okay? Where did he get his belief from?
Oh, that's it, it's a belief.
No, I'm asking, why did he come to that belief? Right. I said to you that I would take seriously every suggestion that you could offer. In return, that you would do the same. I suggest to you, the reason why James came to the firm belief that Christ had risen from the dead is because he had post-mortem encounters with a man that he knew was Jesus.
But that's no fact, that's a belief.
I'm asking you why he came to that belief. And I'm saying we'll discuss every suggestion, right? Because the thing is, if he came to that belief because those experiences were real, then that means we're not talking about a belief, we're talking about a historical fact.
But it wasn't proven to be a historical fact, that's the problem.
Right.
They were supposed eyewitness accounts.
So again, let's just come back to James, because you're moving around James.
All right.
James believes Jesus rose from the dead. We agree. Why does he have that belief?
From what I recall, they were eyewitness accounts.
James? Yeah?
Not from James, I don't know from James. I know that from what little I remember, there were people who claimed and they told James. So it wasn't just James who was one of they were eyewitnesses, plural. It wasn't just one eyewitness who said that Jesus had risen. There were eyewitnesses, plural. So a number of people made that claim, but that claim is not evidence, it's not fact, it's a belief.
Why would someone have that belief?
Well, who knows? They can do it for 1,000,001 reasons.
I would suggest to you, if you cannot offer, the way that you do historical inquiry is you have a number of evidences, right? And then what you do is you come up with a theory that has what they call explanative power. Alright? It's got to have explanative power to the available evidence. You have evidence over here, you have evidence over here, you have evidence over here. And then you have to come up with this is how they do history. Then you have to come up with a theory that accounts for all the evidence without stretching the evidence, without ignoring the evidence, without going against the evidence. That's how you do history. That's how we know anything about history. It's how we know Julius Caesar marched across the Rubicon. It's how we know Julius Caesar invaded England. It's how we know Aristotle was a philosopher. It's how we know Plato was a philosopher. It's how we know they both lived in Greece. Okay? We look at the evidence, we have an exploratory theory that fits the evidence. This is the evidence. Jesus is accounted with, Jesus is a historical figure that had a following of believers that believed that he was the Messiah. That is nothing special. There were messiahs before Jesus and there were messiahs after Jesus. The messiahs before Jesus died and their followers didn't start going around saying that their Messiah had risen from the dead. there were messiahs after Jesus. And their followers, after their Messiah had died, didn't go around saying that the Messiah had risen from the dead.
But there were other gods that did that. Dionysus did that.
That's a mythical story. But let's just deal with what we know as historical fact. Okay? So, in terms of the historical fact, we know that claiming to be the Messiah is something that happened before, during, and after Jesus' life. That Jesus' movement is unique in history for claiming that Jesus had risen from the dead. Okay? That statement, that belief, okay, is testified by multiple independent sources, historical sources, which we call Luke, Matthew, Mark, and John. Okay? These are independently written of one another. These sources we call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
When you say sources, you don't refer to them as individuals. When you say sources,
I am saying that we have historical documents that we call Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are historical documents.
they're not individuals.
They come from the first century. Okay, they are written about Christ, his life. They emerge from a community that already had the beliefs. So to be clear, to get this right in your mind, the beliefs came before the books. The books came out of the communities that believed. So now we have to ask the question, what could cause a community to believe something? For instance, you don't just walk down the street and go, you know, Simon, today I'm going to believe X, Y, and Z. Something has to happen, either psychological or emotional or physical, that affects your perception so that you come to believe in X, Y, and Z. Agreed? Right. So we know that people don't just wake up one morning and just invent beliefs and start believing them. But we know that all beliefs originate from some kind of experience.
Beliefs come from other religious systems that existed before Jesus came along. And within those systems, they had messiahs that they worshipped who rose from the dead. One of them I mentioned is Dionysus.
Actually, from all of the research that I've done about all of these so-called stories that reflect Christ's life, none of them actually match the story of Christ. And actually, their supposed mirroring of Christ's life is actually, it seems to be a bit of an urban myth. I'd like to see the historical document that you're talking about. I mean, I don't expect you to have it now. I'm not expecting you to produce it now. Go away and research it. Let's sit down and talk about it.
I was just mentioning one God who come back from the dead. And then there is a...
1 second. That's a misconception. My nephew was trying to say. Well, no, but if I remember correctly, the story of Mithras is that he goes down into the underworld, he doesn't die, and he rescues his lover and brings her back. At no point does he actually die, he just goes into the underworld. I mean, I might be mixing it up, there's a whole bunch of mythologies from that period. But 1 second, bro, I'm talking to this guy, and I know you want to jump in, but you're just going to have to wait.
And the idea of a Messiah coming to help them. He said before Jesus, they were Messiahs. And after Jesus, they were Messiahs. But the one thing that made Jesus that was because he rose back from the dead after crucifixion. Yes. So the belief in having a Messiah that does amazing things is already part of culture.
I am going to ask you again, right? And I want you to deal with my question and not skirt around it. What caused those people to believe that he had risen from the dead?
What caused them to believe?
Yes.
It could be a million and one things. I don't know. I
So
don't
you
think it was
don't,
fact.
right.
I don't know.
You don't have a better theory.
No, I said that to you about 10 minutes ago.
Right, so now entertain my theory. Really entertain it. Like I was willing to entertain anything that you had to say, I was willing to discuss it. Now discuss my theory.
No, I discussed your theory.
One second. My theory is that it really happened, they really experienced it, and that's why they believe it.
Yes, and I can entertain that, but I can only entertain it as a belief. No, it's fact.
Why not?
Because I need more evidence to prove that it really did happen.
So, look to yourself. Do you just wake up one morning and believe random things?
No.
Do you believe things because you have experiences that make you believe something?
It's a combination of experiences and what I've been taught.
Yeah, it's a combination of categories of mind that are then dealing with stimulation, and then you put that stimulation, that experience, into a category that allows you to understand it. So, an example that I've used often. You're walking down a dark street. It's in the middle of the countryside, and in the distance you see a light appear out of nowhere, skit across the sky, and then disappear just as quickly. What does your mind think?
I don't know what it is. Something is anything, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, he's a skeptical man. That's fair enough.
No, I'm not skeptical. I'm just
Bro,
I'm saying it could
I'm not
be a
using
star.
it as an insult. There's no need to defend yourself.
But what could it be? What could it mean to you then?
That's fine. No. You're a skeptical man. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, lots of people, category of mind, they go UFO. Right? I'm just using it as an example. Right? So they see a sky and a light in the sky. They go UFO. Right? Because why? Because they've been conditioned to think bright sky, bright night in the sky, UFO. Okay, right? Someone like you, me, who's a bit maybe more trained about these kinds of things, we might look for an alternative explanation. Okay, right. Now, in first century Judaism, the culture in which this community existed, that came to the belief that Christ had risen from the dead, they had no social conditioning for the idea that an individual would rise from the dead. Palestinian Jews did not have that social conditioning. Palestinian Jews believed, some of them, that everyone would rise from the dead. Palestinian Jews believed, most of them, that their Messiah would come as a triumphant king and conqueror. Palestinian Jews, some of them, didn't believe that anyone would rise from the dead, and once you've had this life, that's it, it's over and you're done. Okay? For you to change the categories of your mind, like, if you've got a whole list of categories here, and then something happens outside of the boundaries of your categories, so that you have to change the categories of your mind to take on a new experience, it has to be something quite intimate, personal and profound. Like, for example, we all have a belief that our mother loves us. Most of us, yeah? We grow up with that belief, right? For you to change, now if your mother smacked you or didn't do right by you, your category of mind would go, well, she's a human being, she's fallen, everyone makes mistakes. I put that off to human fallibility. But imagine you walked in one day and you hear her confessing, you're not her son, she was being paid to look after you and actually she hated you all along. Something like that would change your belief, wouldn't it? Right? But it would take something like that to change your belief, wouldn't it? Right. So I am telling you, first century Jews had no category of mind for the idea that of an individual Messiah rising from the dead. It just was not there in their culture. Right? But then they came to believe it. You've got to explain why.
Well, you just answered the question. You said they came to believe it. They didn't have the evidence for it.
You don't understand the difference between belief and evidence.
No belief in fact.
You don't understand the difference between belief and fact. Facts are not separate from evidence. Sorry, facts are not separate from beliefs. I work with facts and beliefs all the time. I studied physics at university. I assure you, facts and beliefs go together.
I mean, an example of a fact, 1 + 1 is 2.
That's a mathematical fact, yes. Right.
No one's going to say that's a
Are you coming?
But if you say a man rose from the dead, that's a belief.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Of fact and
Yeah, man.
Okay?
Yeah,
Scientists look at the universe.
Let me phone you back
They
on
see that it is amazingly ordered. Okay? Many of those scientists don't believe in God and can't believe in a creator. Okay? But they see the evidence of a designed universe. but they can't get it into their head that there's a designer, so what do? They come up with string theory. String theory is unevidenced. There is no evidence. The only reason why physicists use string theory is because the mathematics looks good and it feeds into a scientific principle about mirroring and reflection between mathematics and science. But it has no predictive power apart from identifying that gravity should exist, and there's no way as of yet that we can test it in a lab. And they have to come up with multiple models, hypothesizing multiple different dimensions to make it work. Right? Fact. I look at the universe, I see design. Belief. I don't believe in God, so I have to have another explanation. Facts and beliefs always come together.
But not what we are specifically talking about.
We are talking about.
We're talking about the resurrection.
Exactly. We're talking about a human experience. People came to believe that Jesus had risen from the dead. What could make you believe, just answer now, for yourself, what could make you believe that a person had risen from the dead? What would it take to convince you?
If I saw it.
Right.
And
yes,
if I was able to, this is the 21st century, I can record it, obviously.
Right, fine, okay. So what could convince you is if you saw it?
What could convince me if I saw it? Yes. If I saw a dead man and checked that he was dead.
Yes.
He didn't have a pulse.
And he rose from the dead.
And then he woke up from the dead.
Right, he rose from the dead, and that would convince you that men can rise from the dead.
Yes, and then I would take, what's the word? I mean, I would take capture evidence, like I said, in the 21st century.
Let's forget the capturing of the evidence. Forget the evidence. I'm just talking about what could convince you.
Convince me as if he's dead because he had loads of injuries, blood, everything's out. He's got no pulse anymore. And he was dead for 3 days. 3 days, so obviously decomposing starts. And then
he rose from the dead.
Yes.
That would convince you.
That if I was there to see it.
Right, now let me ask you this question. Do you think that people in the first century were any different? Do you think that they were ignorant about death? That they'd not seen death a million times? Do you think that they were stupid just because they lived in the past? That they would believe something incredulous and not have the same attitude that you have?
No, they didn't have the same kind of basic medical knowledge. Would they know how to resuscitate someone back from the dead? They didn't have that knowledge.
What are you hypothesizing? That Christ was resuscitated?
No, I'm saying, if someone looked like they were dead, did they know how to take a pulse? Did they know how to resuscitate someone back? All these little basic things you take for
the only way that this argument, the only way that your argument could go forward is to argue that Christ didn't really die on a cross.
No, my argument is that looking at Christ rising from the cross is a belief. That's what I'm saying.
And what I'm saying to you is you don't understand the difference between that beliefs and facts work together. Beliefs and experiences work together. You already agree with me that what would convince you is if it actually happened. Yeah?
I saw it happen.
Right. Do you think that the people back in the first century were stupid? That they wouldn't go, hold on a minute, I saw you die.
Well, you told me a couple of minutes ago it was Luke, Matthew, Mark, and John, but they were actual. They were not.
Those are the historical accounts. 1 second, but you didn't listen.
I did.
What did I say? Did I say the beliefs are based upon the book, or the books were based upon the beliefs?
Well, I can't remember that. Can you repeat that? I don't remember that.
You didn't listen. I said to you, and I'll say it to you again, and I want you to register this because it's really important. The accounts of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are evidence. They are historical evidence of the beliefs of the first Christians. Okay? That's what they are used for in a historical argument. There's evidence of what the first Christians believed. But the first Christians believed it before they wrote about it.
Yes, and why did they believe it?
Exactly. Why did they believe it?
You told me you believed it.
Because it really happened.
And how do you know it really happened?
Because no one would believe that a man had risen from the dead and then give their life for it unless they had experienced something that could convince them that it had actually occurred.
Rabbits became
I said we would discuss the hypothesis.
Yeah, we're discussing the hypothesis.
So you're saying...
The hypothesis
Is there a problem? No, you don't understand. Stop using the word fact.
It's hypothetical.
Right, bro, you don't know what a fact is.
I'm just saying,
and how it relates to
if
belief.
you want to believe that someone rose from the dead, you can, but it's a belief.
You have to tell, if there's something wrong with my hypothesis, tell me what's wrong with it.
Hypothesis is not fact, is it?
You don't understand. A hypothesis is an explanation of facts. Fact.
If I give a hypothetical,
You don't know what a hypothesis is.
it's not fact.
You don't know what a hypothesis is.
Coming back from
What
the
is a
dead,
hypothesis?
not fact.
What is a
It's
hypothesis?
to the resurrection.
What is a hypothesis?
Saying it's a belief.
A hypothesis is an explanation of the relevant evidence. When a doctor looks at you and he examines your symptoms, right? He examines your symptoms and correlates those symptoms to an explanatory hypothesis based upon your symptoms. In other words, he looks at the evidence, he has a narrative which is a hypothesis, and then he comes to a conclusion. There is nothing wrong with having a hypothesis to explain facts.
And for the resurrection, who was the doctor?
One
Who were the people who
one
gathered
second,
together?
1 second. It is a undisputable fact that Jesus Christ was a real person. It is an indisputable fact that Jesus Christ had a follower of Jewish Palestinian Jews. It is an indisputable fact that those people believed that their Messiah died on a cross. And it is an indisputable fact, did you get this? Fact, did you hear that? Fact, that they believed that he rose from the dead. That is a fact.
That's a F-A-C-T.
Because it's a
Right.
belief.
So why did they come to that belief?
I don't know, maybe they were, who knows why, but it's a belief.
Right. So we have the evidence.
That it is a belief.
So now, honestly, you're just using terms you don't understand.
It is a belief. You can't tell me it is a fact. You can use the words and you can rearrange them in sentences, but you cannot change the fact that the resurrection is a belief. And if people want to follow that belief, they can. But you cannot tell me it is as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. That is a fact.
You're confusing different types of knowledge. Mathematical knowledge is not the same as historical knowledge, and we're talking about a historical question.
You're assuming that 500.
Yeah, you're assuming, you're mixing up the categories. Now, let me.
I'm not going to follow a belief. That's all I'm saying.
But you're already a believer. You believe something, so you're contradicting yourself now because you're saying I don't want to follow a belief. That's a belief, right? What are the facts that you're basing
I
that
told
on?
you, a belief is believing in something where you don't have proof.
Right, but you believe that, right?
Believing that that people can believe in something without adequate proof.
Right, 1 second. Do you believe that you can't believe something until someone proves it to you?
No.
So you can believe something without proof?
Yeah, that's a belief. Yes.
Right. Do you believe that you will follow a belief without proof?
It is possible for human beings to do that. Yes,
I'm
but I don't
talking
want
about you.
I told you from the start, I don't want to be following things without proof, adequate proof.
What is your evidence for this epistemology?
On the resurrection?
No, we're talking about the question of epistemology now, because you're confusing categories of information. I think I need to expose the fact that your epistemology. Epistemology is how we come to knowledge. What is the process by which we come to knowledge about things? Truth. Yeah? What is your epistemology?
Spend 24 hours. There's so many things. I mean, there's epistemology for history.
Do you believe that before you believe something, it has to be proven for you?
I would like. That's what I want to follow.
Right. So now answer me this: who proved that methodology to you, and what evidence did they use to do it?
That methodology. That was something I've come across in my life. If somebody tells me something, the first thing I do is I try and find more information. A prime example is when you gave the example of something in the sky. I didn't jump to conclusions. I said I would like to know more. It could be this, it could be that. That's how I think.
My question is more fundamental. You have stated an epistemology. You have stated a method by which we can come to knowledge about true things. That's what you've done. And you have said that before I can have knowledge of true things, I have to have proof. That's what you said. Right. So now I demand of you proof of this methodology because you believe it.
Oh, proof that it works.
No, proof of the methodology. You are believing a methodology that is based, I would suggest to you, without any evidence at all.
No, not really. I mean, we can go back to the simple mathematics when you're a kid, and they tell you 1 + 1 is 2, and then they have to start explaining it. You have one object, you have another object, you've got 2 objects. So it kind of makes sense. Okay, 1 + 1 gives you 2. That's the most basic form of the epistemology I'm talking about. Or somebody says the grass is green, and then you go through the scientific epistemology process of looking like chlorophyll as to why it then makes the grass green. And then you believe, okay, yes, when the grass is grown, they become green. But you don't just believe it, there's a process that you go through.
Do you think that I've just believed this? Do you not think I've had my faith examined?
No.
Castro só confirme se c'est wizard.